So we'll call this meeting to order. If you would stand and salute the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Josh Basic is going to lead us in prayer with the Church of Christ here.
All right, let's pray. Our Father in heaven, we come before you knowing you are the master and the ruler of all. Father, we thank you for the amazing blessings that you give us. Father, we thank you for the city of Kingfisher. We thank you for the people who reside and who live here, and for those who work hard to make this a wonderful town and a wonderful place to live in. Father, I pray that those things that are discussed tonight, those things that are brought up, the things that are difficult at times, Father, that they will be able to get through those amicably. Father, we thank you for the blessings of being able to have communication and back and forth. Father, we pray for the children of our city and of our town. Father, we pray for their education and for their growth. Father, we thank you for the parents and for the families that make up this wonderful town as well. Father, bless us. Keep us on that straight and narrow. It's in your Son's name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Very good. Thank you so much, Josh. Thank you for coming, Madeline, helping him find his way down.
You guys have a good night.
Thank you. Roll call.
Oop, there comes.
There we go.
Right here.
Hold on, let me have her in real fast.
Okay.
Sorry. Or she wants me to vote. Okay, Dawn,
Here.
Jeff Cobalt,
Here.
Kyle Mecklenburg,
Here.
Jeff Whitrock,
Here.
Debbie Burbank.
We have a quorum.
Yep.
First item on the agenda is the consent docket. Does anybody have any questions or need to remove any items? You can do that now. Or if not, we have a motion.
My only question, I don't know if it's on this one or if it's on another one, but was the charges for Apple for monthly, these iPhone charges, are these for storage? Is this for,
Storage, both of them.
okay,
One's fire chief, one's code enforcement.
those are small amounts, but those can add up quickly.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Make a motion to approve consent docket.
Second?
I have a motion and a second. Are you signed in, Dawn?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I want to take my vote.
And? How do you want it?
Aye. Great. Hey.
The consent docket is approved. First item on scheduled business, discussion and possible action to set regular meeting dates for 2025. Do we have any questions or do we have a motion?
This is the same as where we're at now.
Yeah.
These will be your new dates. Once you approve it, these will be your new dates. So,
Still the second Monday of,
Yes,
except when we have holidays
Yeah.
or,
yes,
second Monday of the month.
yes.
Make a motion to approve the meetings for year 2025. Meeting dates.
Second now.
You get your 50 cents. Have a motion and a second by Commissioner Taylor.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal.
Boy, this thing's slow. Mm-hmm. That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action to approve replacing touchscreen TC module and fuel mod motor at the cost of $17,900 to Burnswell Inc. for the police department.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, this is an animal control item. I've asked the animal control officer to come and speak to this. This is basically an incinerator that we use in the animal control business. The one we had was almost 20 years old. It was donated to the city and has served us well. and it just outlived its life expectancy. The city was afforded an opportunity to piggyback on, this firm comes out of Florida. Broken Arrow was in the process of having their incinerator replaced in Broken Arrow, and so we had them do both at the same time, and that's how we saved some money. There was about $7,000 in savings having them come at the same time Broken Arrow was, so we recommend approval.
So is this where we used to get rid of
Animals.
the animals after?
Yeah.
So,
Is this the cheapest way to deal with our
yeah,
Why don't you come up and,
thing?
yeah, Don, I think I'm trying to maybe piggyback on what you're getting at is, so do we have a unit right now, and this is to fix a current unit?
Officer Klein?
How are you?
Good.
Yeah, the PCL module and the main thermal coupler motor went bad on it. If you guys want to know how I found that out, we'll discuss that one-on-one. But yeah, I mean, I called him up and he ran me through everything as far as, stuff that I could do on the back side of the motor. None of it worked. He sent me an estimate. The incinerator I've been here 16 years. It's been in use at least 15. I think it was stored at the street department's barn before that. How long? I have no idea. But yeah,
it was a gift.
Yes, it was. It was donated. So it's about a 4 to 5 year maintenance plan that we're on. And other than that, that's the only money that we've spent on it.
how often do you use the incinerator?
I mean, it could be 2-3 times a month. Also work with the fire department on getting rid of their expired narcotics in their ambulances. I also burn it. Our files for the police department, it gets burned. So it gets used quite a bit.
Okay.
So it's multi-use.
Yeah.
Multi-use.
Yeah.
So, my question would be, what would the option be if we didn't have the incinerator and we had to get rid of carcasses, animal carcasses and so forth? Now, given that there's other things, you can shred, you can do stuff with some other stuff like that. But if we're only doing it 2 or 3 times a month, what would it cost to take this to somewhere else that has an incinerator and pay them to do it?
Well, the challenge is, we were given a notice of violation with the DEQ because we were just burying them out at our own landfill. And they said you can't do that anymore. And that this was the option that the DEQ provided to us. And for whatever reason, whoever the family was donated an incinerator to dispose of animals and other carcasses. And it just outlived its life expectancy. So
What I'm saying is this is a $19,000 fix. If we're doing 2 to 3 animals a month and it costs us $50 a month to have somebody else incinerate it,
Yeah, we're doing about 400 pounds every burn.
400 pounds every burn.
yeah, so they're freezing them first when they get the dead animal, or it gets euthanized. I mean, when he says 2 or 3 times a month,
So you're doing 2 or 3 times burns, but that could
But
be
there's
multiple
not-
animals.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, that's where my
It's just not
confusion.
one.
yeah, you're talking
Yeah,
400 animals.
Yeah, it's 2 to
Okay,
400
I apologize.
pounds
That's
every
where
burn.
my
Yeah.
misunderstanding was.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm with Kyle thinking, just take them to the local vet, and have them do it, pay them $20 a.
Yeah.
Right,
More than
because
that.
it's more than, okay.
This is the most efficient way to stay above, within the law, I guess,
How
is
many-
the best way to describe it.
Just out of curiosity, how many animals do you incinerate on average a month? The quantity of animals?
I mean, it all depends month to month.
But is there any documentations that you guys make of what animals you guys are
Picking
getting
up
rid
and
of?
putting down?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, because the vet calls City Hall every time one's put down to let them know. And I also call Mindy and let her know also.
But
So,
We also, you tried to adopt that.
Oh, yeah, I
I'm
work
thinking
with,
you guys are not-
I
No,
work
I
with
understand.
Hope
No.
also.
No, I understand that. I mean,
He tries
I
to
totally,
adopt
no, I
Yeah.
understand that. That's definitely not where my
Okay.
intentions were going or anything
Yeah.
like that. I'm just
I
more
think it's
curious than
easy to
anything.
say you're disposing 40 to 50 animals every time you crank open the furnace.
I would probably say
Or
15,
more?
15 to 20,
Okay.
just to kind of depending on weight,
Yeah, some dogs
So,
are
yeah.
bigger than others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so.
But you house them for a period of time prior to.
If I think they can be adopted out, yeah, I'll house them until I can find a home.
Yeah.
And then how, and this is a little bit off of this specific subject, but how is it communicated to the community that there's a dog that has been taken in the community and being housed?
Most of them get put on the Kingfisher Lost and Found page.
Of
But,
Facebook or
yeah,
social
yeah,
media or
yeah,
anything
but
like that?
I mean, like I said, I've been here 16 years and I probably know 80% of where almost every dog belongs.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
And then again, what is the time frame from once you pick up a dog? The clock
72
starts.
hours.
It's 72 hours,
Yep.
3 days. So you give the dog three days
Yep.
before
yep,
you try to get them adopted out and or they are eliminated or they're
yeah, euthanized, yes.
euthanized.
correct.
Okay.
You got somebody from the public that has a question.
Mr.
So
Studeville?
I was mayor when this last one came about, and I was the one that purchased it and donated it.
Oh.
We didn't have a choice.
Oh, yeah.
We did not have a choice.
Jack, what do you mean by you didn't have a choice? I mean, you had to have the incinerator because the DEQ was saying you
That's
couldn't
right.
continue to do what you were doing?
The DEQ was the.
And that's what I've been told as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
You said this is also a maintenance plan, this 18,000 is putting us on a 5-year maintenance, I'll hold up right in front of me.
Well, no.
No, this is-
They did a maintenance for free when they come down and changed the PCL and the fuel mod.
Okay.
They went through the machine, but usually, like El Reno, theirs runs 24/7, 365.
So has this already been done?
Yes.
How does this get approved before we?
Because
Vote on
as I said, it was gonna cost us an additional $7,000 to have them come back and do it if we hadn't piggybacked onto Broken Arrows.
So what are we voting on?
You're voting
We're
to
voting to
To just
approve
say like
something
it
that's
was
already been done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
well,
Which is
I make a
backwards.
motion that we approve what's already been done.
Okay.
This isn't a new machine, this is the new replacement.
This is a
or
brand
this
new
is-
machine.
Okay.
Yeah, brand new machine.
We're still discussing.
I mean,
Wait,
if-
okay, hold on a
It's-
second, hold on.
It's the 20-year-old machine with new parts.
Okay,
Just-
there you go, there you go.
Yeah.
That's, okay, that's where.
Yeah, with
it's not a new
the new
machine.
PCL module and a new
That's why it
fuel
didn't
mod
come to
motor.
us, 'cause it's under.
Jack,
Is
what
what
did
it
you
is.
pay for the
Well,
machine
no,
when you bought it?
they only have authority to spend $12,000 without the authority of the commission.
I think we paid 52, I think it was a $52,000,
Original?
if I'm remembering correctly.
It was quite a bit.
It
It was
was?
pretty pricey. And that was back then.
Yeah.
seems like the number,
Well, under the circumstance we are, I will second this one, because it's a done deal. But I echo Kyle's.
And if we hadn't saved $7,000, there would have been criticism about that. So
Well, I mean,
let's be careful.
But Jim, there's rules in place for a specific reason, right? And whether it saves us money or not, they're there for safeguards and checks and balances. So, I mean, there wasn't the authority to get this approved, to do it.
Yep. I guess I just figured when you're saving 33%, there's a little bit of latitude, and you're just gonna have to trust the judgment of the city manager. If I thought this was unreasonable, and I've had an unreasonable request come to me today that has been not approved, I'm not even gonna put it on the agenda. So, this isn't my first rodeo. I've dealt with issues much more sensitive than this. But when the DEQ says this is the only way you can dispose of an animal, and we can save 33% by piggybacking on another municipality, I think it was a wise decision.
I don't think he's questioning if it was a wise decision. It's
Exactly.
just-
I'm not questioning it in this
Mentioning the fact
specific instance.
And we need to address the purchasing policy, and that will be
Yeah.
addressed in
Yeah.
January.
And I definitely, I agree with that. But I just want to,
Yeah,
I want to vocalize that that's a concern of mine, that we have rules in place that should be followed, and
Yeah.
if you can't do a situation within those rules, you don't do it.
yeah.
I think in this case though, I mean, the purchasing policy as it stands right now authorizes him to do $15,000, I believe.
12.
Is it 12.5? Okay, 12.5, but I mean, in this case, but we do need to address that. Everything's
Right.
gone up and that's been in place for a long time.
Yeah.
And I don't question the judgment at all.
I don't,
No, and
I don't either,
know.
Jim. I don't think that my comment has anything to do with me not trusting or you understanding the situation. It's just that, again, if we have rules in place, we need to follow the rules. And if we need to change those rules to better meet the today's stuff, then I'm all for it. I think there's other things, and Jim, you and I discussed about, the buildings and stuff like that
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
There's things that we need to update and make decisions on for sure, but I just want it to be out there that I'm concerned about the fact that this was outside the boundaries of being approved, and we're now approving something that's already been done.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, we have a motion and a second, and you have sent that.
Kyle and Jeff haven't voted.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the,
Oh, mine didn't
I'm on,
pop up.
I'm on the wrong.
They didn't want me to vote. I think I have to reload, because mine didn't pop up.
You already voted, Dawn.
I did?
Yeah.
So that motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action to purchase a lot in Montevino to help with stormwater drainage. That's proposed cost of $20,000. Do you want to
Alright.
discuss that,
I
Mr. Thomas?
do. I sent you a memo over the weekend outlining the challenges and issues faced with this project. This project was originally approved in 2007. The detention pond that was constructed at that time was undersized. There was no hydrology study done. They did not account for water coming off 13th Street that passes through Montevita and then goes on into the subdivision behind. I have personally been down there, looked at it. I've been with the chief building official. She has looked at the manholes. The mayor and I have toured that. Right now, that detention pond is less than a foot deep. What's being proposed, and the developer is here, Lance is here to answer any questions, is for the city to purchase one of the vacant lots to enlarge the detention pond to be 7 feet deep, to handle 2.5 times the current cubic unit feet per water. Right now, it takes 27,000 cubic feet, or that's what it was built to. I don't think it takes 27,000 cubic feet of water now because the depth is less than a foot. This will handle about 65,000 cubic feet of water. It is addressed to a 100-year storm. I appreciate some of you that may be saying, why is the city getting involved in this? The city needed to get involved because of the water coming off of 13th Street going through Montevita was never considered when Montevita was laid out. The lot sizes are staying the same. There is no change to that other than they are eliminating one lot. We're going to purchase one. Oh, and they're also expanding one lot. So there's 2 less lots that are going to be in Montevita than what was approved in 2007. Lance, do you want to come up and maybe they may have some questions for you? I've given them a detail. I gave them a copy of the hydrology report that you guys produced. We hired an outside consultant, not Cowan Engineering, that focuses only on hydrology. They reviewed the report. They had a conversation with the engineer that drafted the report, and that's how we came up with this solution. Is that a fair summary?
Very fair coverage. Generally, as a developer that's going to build houses, when I buy lots that are ready with the road in front of them, they should be ready and I should get to build a house on them. And theoretically, when that was built, an engineer did the math and said, hey, water is going to flow off this property faster today because of the streets and the rooftops than it was before you built them, and he generally would account for that and then build a pond big enough to detain that water for the right amount of time so that it doesn't affect any neighbor downstream. And it looks like in this case, that pond that was originally, designed wasn't big enough to do that. And so we originally talked to the city and said, okay, well, we want to build these rooftops. And the city said, hey, the pond's not going to carry it. And so what we at first said was, all right, we'll provide one of our lots. We bought 22. We'll go down to 21 lots and we'll provide one, right? And that will account for the extra runoff because of the rooftops. Should have been done back in '07. It wasn't done, but hey, got it. We'll come to the table. Once we did that, our engineer looked and said, Lance, you're still not carrying, because of all that water coming off of 13th Street through the subdivision, you're still not even carrying the 100-year flood. And obviously, the city staff got concerned about that. And really, the only way to get us to be able to carry the 100-year flood through that subdivision from the water coming from 13th was to cough up a second lot. And at that point, I kind of said, hey, not really fair on me. I shouldn't have to cough up any, and I agreed to do the first one, and now there's going to be two, and I'm paying for all the engineering. I'm doing there's some more structure that needs to be built. We're handling that as a developer all at our cost, but we're kind of asking, I paid $17,000 for the lots. I'm kind of asking that you guys pay $20 for this one that really is not accounting for my water, and that'll cover my engineering. I mean, it doesn't cover anything that I've spent, but it kind of a show of good faith. Right. We're in this together.
That's correct. He's trying to be a partner with the city. And so, without hurting Lance's feelings, at first you guys really pushed back on this.
We did.
Because you said exactly what you said. I'm buying already platted lots. This should have been done in 2007. It was not.
And it was done. It was done.
No, it was not done. There's no hydrology report addressing this.
That we could find, but the bottom line
You had to have
is,
a hydrology report to
whether they did
build
or
a-
didn't, they didn't take into consideration all the drainage coming down 13th Street, which is included in this, that we could find.
That's correct.
Is my understanding. So there's quite a little bit that contributes from off-site of the specific development there in Montevito.
And that detention pond has not been maintained. I'm being very candid when I say it will carry less than 6 inches of water.
So I have a couple of questions in regards to that.
Okay.
And I asked you about this last week, but one of the things, so if we do approve this, we're buying a lot. Who's maintaining this?
And constructing.
Well, they're constructing
At
it.
my cost, I'm constructing.
He's
The
constructing
new
it.
pond?
The new pond.
Okay.
But
Yes.
you're gonna have a private purchased entity that owns a portion of this. The city's gonna own a portion of this. Montevito is not a private development. I mean, they don't maintain their own roads and storm sewer. That's turned over to the city at the end of construction, right? So who is responsible for because as you said, because if the city was responsible that now we have less than 6 inches,
Right.
that's on us.
Right.
And so at some point, it sounds like to me that the city's gonna be responsible for at least a part of it, but who's responsible for the rest of it?
I'll let somebody else answer that question
Okay.
to start, but I don't know that the streets are public streets. They may be private.
Okay, that's what I was
can
curious
pull up
about.
the plat to double check that, but I don't know that the streets, obviously the utility easements and all of that, where we've got our lines, we've got that right there. But there's a part of me that thinks that the street, the
That's what I was
detention
thinking.
pond, all of that are private.
Well,
Yeah.
it was
Those
intended to be
lots-
gated at one point, so maybe it is private.
It is, because there is no homeowners association. Lance and I talked about that at the beginning. Eventually, the homeowners are gonna have to assume responsibility for that, just like you assume responsibility for your detention pond in your subdivision.
No, for sure.
Yeah,
Well, that's what I'm asking, because,
which in turn would say that the homeowners are responsible for maintaining the retention.
Well, the difference,
Yes.
the difference of this one and ours is our homeowners own that land. He's talking about this one now, because the city's now gonna own a piece of this.
yeah. Yeah,
It's
it
totally different
complicates
than ours.
things here. a
It
little bit.
absolutely does. And then there's the liability of it too. If a child or somebody goes on there and gets injured or on that property,
7 feet deep.
who's gonna be liable for that, for that?
Yeah,
If
for
we
sure.
own the property, the city's gonna be liable.
So I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Studeville.
You know, that runs through my yard, and it was terrible. And I had to pay it over $50,000. I took out the old culvert and put two culverts that were both larger than the first one, and I paid it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 50 grand.
So what's gonna happen when we give him more water? He's dealing with what we're giving him now, or with what the scenario's given.
But as I said, Commissioner, right now, it's holding less than a half a foot. This is going to, a detention pond is to slow the water down that flows into the stormwater line. And this system was broken, in my opinion, the day it was built. If it's been flooding your yard and your neighbor's yards since 2007 or 2010, whatever the case may be, it was poorly constructed, thought out, laid out.
One of the things I would say too, and I haven't looked at all the intakes and what's coming out of there. We had talked about at one point, maybe potentially raising that where it does retain more water. I don't know if the plans call for that, but the other concern, when you talk about 100-year flood, I mean, we don't design anything to a 100-year flood, ever.
It's in our ordinance.
Is it? Okay,
Yeah.
that's what I was
Yeah.
curious about.
Yeah.
But along highways and things like that, we do not design anything to 100-year floods. My question is, are we raising the elevation of the intake at all? Because my concern to Mr. Studeville's comments is that we have two ponds downstream from there that Jeff Whitrock and I are a part of.
Right.
So are we gonna contribute more, because there are times that it floods part of our neighbors, not only Mr. Studeville and his neighbor to the north, but downstream. So ultimately, with the additional capacity within the detention pond, is it gonna be to such a degree at the 100-year flood that those pipes that we have in place currently will handle those? Or does it overtop?
So right now, it will clearly overtop at the 100-year flood.
Right now, yeah.
Yeah, right. What, and I do this across the state of Oklahoma and a lot, and so I do a lot of residential, subdivision planning. Most cities require the 100-year flood, right? That when we design, to retain a 100-year flood. Right?
Zero runoff.
Zero runoff,
Yeah.
or that same speed of runoff, right? At the 100-year flood, it can't go out any faster until it is run that out at the right slow amount of time. Right now, it's going to clearly overtop. What he's designed is there's 3 culverts there right now. He's necked it down to make it run slower. He's put in 3, and this is again what I have designed. Another culvert. He's got 3 18-inch HDPE.
Weirs in front of them.
And he's got to have weirs in front of him to slow it down, right? And then he does have an overtopping structure so that when it goes beyond the 100-year flood, it is coming over the spillway, right? But as long as it's within the 100-year flood, it won't run out any faster, and it'll just continue to fill up, right? And then slowly spill out. That's what my engineer designed, and then we sent it through the city's third party consultant, and they came back and said, you got it.
Okay.
Right? And so that's kind of.
I think before we move any further, we need to know, A, who's gonna maintain it, and B, make sure we're good on the exit of the water for them.
Well, and here again, the current pond is supposed to handle 24,000 cubic feet of water. It's not.
Why?
Why is it? Because it's filled in.
Is that
That's not our fault.
It's not our fault. It's not our fault. It's whoever owned that property.
Whoever owns it now. They bought the property
He
as is, it's
inherited
whoever- it's their
something that he
responsibility
made
to
some
do.
assumptions on, but nobody's taken into account the 40,000 cubic feet of water 40,000 cubic feet of water coming off 13th Street.
What
that are
happens when the
go-
big one gets silted in? That's what Kyle and I think are going at. You're
Well, that's
silting
my
in today.
concern, because there's still a mix of, if we purchase a lot, you're providing a lot, you already have a detention pond on there. If it's a private community, then still, we have an obligation as a city to try to alleviate any of those issues. But we need clarity as to who is responsible for maintaining that, because I can promise you it's gonna silt in again. Then who's gonna, is it the homeowners, or now that the city owns a part of that, is it gonna be ours?
I think you'd work out a simple lease that's from the city back to the HOA, that then HOA picks up that maintenance, just like it would on the regular one that's there.
On the portion.
And then the city would be playing.
Right, and I would
with that.
assume your lot, you'll convey to the HOA, that way they've already got it.
And I think the cleaner way, the normal way that I would see this when we're platting a new subdivision, right, is even though we're gonna be public streets, that generally you'll see that public, or that it's not public area, but that common area, they call it a common area on the plat, is owned by the HOA, it's not owned by the city. The streets are platted, but that 2 or 3 lots or whatever was given up to be a detention pond belongs to the HOA, and it's the HOA's response, kind of like the front entrance and the sign up there, HOA's responsibility. Even though it's in the right of way, yeah, it's still the HOA's responsibility. And I think the easier solve, and I'm glad we brought it up, instead of me selling you a lot, me cost share with you, right, and you agree to if I agree to donate the lot to the HOA, you agree to reimburse me maybe for the cost of construction this extra part of the pond. Whatever it is, the dollars don't need to stay, the dollar stays the same.
Yeah.
But instead of you guys becoming the ownership of a lot where you've got liability,
I think that's,
Whole lot.
the HOA
That's
gets
a
the
lot
lot.
cleaner.
Okay.
and that's the other, I mean, again, we need clarity on if the HOA, if that's a private HOA.
And,
Right.
and I'm telling you, those lots in there, when I saw, some of them are 4,000 or 5,000 square feet.
They're small.
They're very small.
Yeah.
And my understanding, here again, I'm going from information I've gathered on this project, is it was designed for 55 and older. It was designed, because those lots are so small, that people over 55 don't want to cut grass, you know, it's a private.
Yeah.
I couldn't find the word PUD, and it's a word I use all the time. It's called Planned Unit Development. But in my estimation, that's what it was proposed to be, was a planned unit development. Because historically, cities should not be approving building lots at 4,000 square feet. I had an issue last week with a homeowner that bought a 7,000 square foot lot. Their house is 3,000 square foot. Then when you add the garage pad and the pad in the back, they got less than 500 feet of grass. And they got 2 little kids.
Which is against our, which is in
Yeah,
conflict with our.
yes.
Yeah.
There's no
Sure.
setbacks, there's, you know, so,
Well, speaking of that, that's a whole.
Yeah.
this
but
is-
I'm just giving you an
No, I-
example, you know, so this is,
Have we?
go ahead.
And I will admit, I don't know anything about water hydrology studies and all that good stuff, but I'm assuming that the route of taking the existing retention pond on the land that it is, plus the lot that you guys are proposing to add, building that out, digging that out, dredging it out, stuff like that, and then possibly re-engineering some of the downstream, what do they call them, funnels or whatever it is, to make them bigger, to allow for more water. But that doesn't slow the water down. That's what we're worried about, right? Is the speed of the water going into Westwood?
Yeah, the
addition?
whole
But-
deal is
but-
the contribution from that development and everything upstream is that we don't add any additional volume
Anybody down?
downstream. It's not volume,
Yeah, I was gonna
but
say
it's the
volume.
time,
It's-
it's the
it's
time to get to those
get
next
to those
Right.
locations,
facilities, yeah.
And that's what a detention pond is supposed to be. It's supposed to
Right,
hold
just
the
slow
water,
volume,
slow it down.
water speed down.
Yeah.
And to retain the volume of water we're talking about, 67,000 cubic feet.
Yeah, it's about
It's gonna be-
500,000 gallons.
Yeah.
Is what that is.
Yeah, yeah. It's gonna do what it was intended to do. And the challenge will be for the homeowners to maintain that as it goes forward. And I like the idea of rather buying a lot, just making a $20,000 contribution as part of the city dealing with stormwater issues in that sector of the.
The last thing we need to do is to add more maintenance to our,
100%.
you know, and that's why I even bring this up, because we're working on becoming better at maintaining our
Right, yes.
stormwater. We have not we've had some challenges
Charter
there.
and everything, what would it fall?
I don't think any of this is gonna
What's-
impact any charter.
So we can, if somebody so chooses, you can make the motion to say what we just said, if y'all are interested in that.
Does that work with you, Lance?
I think that for your long term, that land goes to that land basically gets dedicated in exchange for your help. I'm going to dedicate 2 lots to the HOA. Let's be honest, we need to stand that HOA back up. It's not really been, when I bought it, there wasn't a lot of HOA activity, right? We need to stand that up. We're going to build homes for sale, right? We're just going to put families in there that can then run an HOA. I think that's the right answer for everybody.
Downstream from there, like I said, we are an HOA that owns that property, so.
Jack, what's your thoughts?
Ma'am, did you have your hand up? I thought I saw your
I have
hand.
a video of the water, what it looks like going through there now, if anybody would like to see it.
Yeah, no, I've seen several. We've looked at the manhole. I've looked at, on 13th Street, that water comes right through your subdivision. I don't know what they were thinking in 2007, to be very honest with you. It was very poor planning
And then I
at
have
that time.
another question. I know that originally about a third of that area was lake, which has been filled in. And my question is that land going to be stable enough to support that many homes in there? Because I know to the east of my house, when they did the core sample, they only got down like 2 feet, is as far down as they could get. But then on the west of my house, they hit water. So I don't want to wake up one morning and find that the equity in my home is worth half of what it used to be because of problems that arise from putting so many houses in there.
Do you want to discuss, Lance, kind of what you've done from a geotechnical report a little? Yeah.
Yes, I've never had a city require a geotechnical report before. This is my first time in probably 40 cities across the state of Oklahoma. But the city in this instance required that I go do a geotech, and so we did go and do soil samples, right, and came back, and we submitted those soil samples to our structural engineer that designs our foundation. We run what's called a post-tension foundation, right, and it's designed for soils that have a lot of movement. And so we used that soil report that you guys required, gave it to the engineer, and he's designed a post-tension foundation that will rest on soils that aren't the best. These soils actually didn't, in the end, when we ran it, those PIs weren't that crazy. It wasn't that bad, but still, I mean, it's done, we've done it. And
Were
so
those samples taken from lots that were where the pond used to be?
I think one of them was. When I tell an engineer to go do a soil report, I say, here's the dirt, and then they go pick
Random sampling.
and drop holes.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I was not out there when they did it. We launch a drill truck and they do what their engineer tells them to do, and their engineer signs off on it.
I think for the commission and the public, what we have required of this new developer that purchases property should have been done in 2007, and it wasn't. You know, it's unfortunate, but I feel like we're in a better position in 2024, 2025 than they were in 2007. I've seen the satellite photos of where the former pond was. Commissioner Mecklenburg told me he used to go fishing there as a boy. We didn't tell them where to
say that out loud because I didn't really have permission.
Statute of limitations.
There you go, statute of limitations.
Hopefully he had a
All right,
fishing
good.
license.
He's got a fine written up already.
We are truly trying to protect the city's interest, the public's interest, as well as allow a developer to build homes. So in my feeling, we have expected more things of him in 2024. They should have expected it in 2007, 2006, when this was under consideration. So
I'll tell you, our building official actually brought those concerns up, and Lance came in with his foreman, and we sat down around the table, myself along with Jim and Linda along with Lance and his foreman, and we came to some agreements to make sure that we did the best we could to ensure that there was stability there.
yeah.
Not to say, I mean, we experience groundwater in a lot of different places and a lot of different structures. We believe that what he has done and the provisions that the extents that he's gone to will suffice for what he's trying to do there. not to say something couldn't happen, but we believe that he has a vested interest and he wanted to do it right, and we believe that he's doing that. Do we
Well,
have
I will
a-
say, I
no.
will say that, I don't know, before we do make a motion or whatever, I don't know that I'm comfortable with saying yes to anything until I see what exactly it's gonna look like and what the relationship is gonna be with the developer and or the HOA.
Well, I think that's
So-
what can consider, that we can make the motion based upon that, if you so choose to make a motion based upon the fact that the HOA will take ownership of that, and we're basically sharing costs to basically make up for the drainage that's coming off of public right-of-way into the private development.
That's
Is
correct.
really what it is. I
Yeah.
mean, they provided the hydrology report, hydraulic report, we've had it checked.
And there's a copy of what it's gonna look like right there.
And, yeah, and so and I don't remember what the depth on that is, but our independent consultant, H&H consultant, verified what his engineer, provided him. So I don't know that we could do any more due diligence, to be honest with you.
But we don't need to study downstream, because this is fixing the downstream problem.
Well, I don't know about
It's-
fixing,
it's
but it's not
supposed
gonna
to be.
contribute
It's not- yes,
anymore.
there you go.
It's gonna
That's
slow
right.
it down, that's correct.
It shouldn't contribute anymore.
A lot, right now it's contributing a lot. Every time it rains, it's going downstream fast. This will significantly slow that downstream run.
And a lot of that has to do with the fact that it hasn't been maintained over the years.
Correct.
They are ready to mobilize in the next couple of weeks to start this project.
But if we're changing it from a purchase to a contribution, or however we want to word that, then there probably is some way to set it of like, it's gonna be offered more as it's done and less of like upfront, to address what you're saying. Like, you want to see, make sure it's getting done correctly. Because if it's a contribution, then that should allow for us to say, okay, when it's this much complete, that's why we're going to offer you the contribution to cover that cost.
You can make
You
that
know.
motion however you
Yeah,
want
that's
to.
Don,
Right,
that's,
yeah.
yes, you're right, but also I just want to better understand the language around the relationship between the boundaries of that contribution between the developer and, because the developer owns the land now, but at some point it will transfer over to the HOA. Usually once they sell so many lots, then the HOA takes over the responsibility of that land. The homeowner, the developer won't own that land forever. The HOA will.
So
there's
what
gonna-
do you want to see?
I just want to know exactly what the what the contribution. I want the details around what the contribution is for and the responsibility of the developer, and then essentially the HOA, as it will transfer over to the HOA's responsibility.
That can all go in the motion.
Well, I was gonna say, yeah, not only that, I mean, we've delayed him quite a little bit in regards to getting this thing done and getting started. And that place has been sitting there since about 2007 without any activity. And, you know.
There's a reason for that.
Getting in, well, there's probably a ton of reasons that I'm not aware of, nor you're aware of, but my point is, I mean, do we want to distract this and kick the can down the road, or do we want to do something with it?
Well, Kyle, to your point, I think if we're not the owner of it, we're not gonna have any of that liability going forward. That they and then the HOA are gonna be the ones that have the legal liability to make sure it's done in a safe manner,
Right.
and to make sure then that it stays up from there. And if there's a problem in the future, the folks downstream, Jack and you all that have stuff that may get extra runoff, they're gonna be looking at the owners of the property that were the ones that changed the flow or modified or didn't modify things correctly. So I don't see how the cash contribution, because we're kind of saying, in that sense, we may have missed something back 15, 20 years ago. We want to do our part to help make sure we get that right, because like we've talked about, for the last several years since I've been around, we've done a lot better job of watching that stuff. You know, I don't know if this one was just a one-off, if it was something that we just weren't the best at it all the time, but I think that's what we're doing here, potentially saying, hey, we may have missed something there. Here's what we're gonna do to help correct what we may have missed, but then we're out.
Right, exactly.
Because it's not our property anymore.
Right, exactly.
Or it never was
Never
our
was.
property.
Right,
So I
but
think.
now we have no ties to it.
Right.
The one thing that I agree though with Kyle is that there's got to be teeth in something to ensure that it's maintained. Because it could all silt in, and you could sit here and have discussions with the HOA, just like we've had with some drainage areas around here that says, hey, this is gonna become litigious, whatever it's called. You people getting involved, and then you can't do anything,
Well,
because now we've got problems there.
I think you got two things there. You've
Yeah.
always got the ability to declare something a public nuisance. And then you can start to force things to happen. Obviously, that means us coughing up some money to start with, but then you go
Yeah.
back on someone for that. Or downstream owners can say, you did something to change the water flow. And there's a lot of rules out there on
Yeah.
what you can change and what you can't change on water flow. It's complex when you get into that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that is probably covered by, again, two different ways that they either call it a public nuisance at this level, or those downstream owners file some kind of a civil lawsuit and say, you guys messed this up, you owe us something, and part of that's gonna be getting it fixed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're just paying the sins of the fathers. This was poorly done in 2007, Kyle. I wish we could roll the dice back, but you can't. In my estimation, $20,000 to help address a stormwater issue is insignificant money.
Do we have a motion? I don't care what kind of a motion it is, but
Because of the way it's written.
do what?
What do we need to do with this motion because of the way it's written? It's written for purchase, and we've obviously
Well, we just gotta make a
moved past
motion
that. We're not
of
gonna
what we
purchase.
want to say
Yeah.
in lieu of that one, so.
Yes.
I can make the motion for $20,000 by the city for cost sharing for the retention pond in Montevito to help with the 100-year flood water coming off 13th Street.
And see, it needs to be amended.
That's fair. I like that.
Do you have to speak that it needs to be amended? Or y'all just go back and amend it? That's Brett.
Good.
I have a motion.
Oh, I second that.
You second. Okay, I have a motion and a second.
I think we all agree that it's just not, we don't want the city involved. And hopefully
Right.
that's the way to,
Right.
Moving forward.
Did you say for drainage?
thank you, Lance, for the
Yes.
You bet.
Thank
for
you
the
very
discussion.
much.
Appreciate
Thank you
it.
very much.
Okay. I hope I have your motion
Did it come up for you guys?
It has not.
No, okay.
now. I don't know who seconded it. Sorry.
Dawn.
Dawn.
I'm so sorry.
You're fine.
Hope
There's a
you got-
lot of words there, Brittany.
I was gonna
There's a lot
say, I
of
hope
words
you got
being
all
used.
that.
I know, hold on.
Jack, thanks for your patience. I know that was a mess, wasn't it, last year?
Before we put the culverts in it.
Mm-hmm.
Big time.
I
Yeah.
may have to tweak it. Sorry, guys. I hope I got it right. There's a lot of words in that one.
Did you fill in, was there an open ditch at some point?
No.
Discussion of motion to no. Oh, yeah, motion to approve cost share on every building purchase. I think that'll work.
That works.
We're gonna call it cost sharing.
Okay, now Jim only gets 1 minute.
He's already had it.
Oh, sorry, guys. I gotta take down my post here, my development post.
I guess that sounds better.
There you go, sorry.
That motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action to approve the proposal from Atlas Paving. The next two items are in regards to that, to repair Robin Lane for the cost of $11,604.76. And I would remind you that this was in the hot topics on Friday. If you have questions, by all means.
So my question is, was this street a detoured street for Atlas Paving's equipment to go down and/or redirecting heavy equipment around Atlas's construction zone? And there were vehicles that were put on that road that, that were not supposed to be.
I personally saw them using the road, I don't know to what extent, but they were using the road with their waste, or whatever you call the shavings, whatever that is, cutting, millings.
I had a professional independent engineer, aside from Atlas, ride with me. We looked at these roads, we got out. And he candidly said to me, Jim, this wasn't done over 5 times of a Atlas truck hauling gravel. This has been a problem for years. This road is less than 18 feet wide. It was built under county standards. There is no aggregate base under there. It's built just like Starlight was, and it's in worse shape than Starlight was. Starlight just had a belly bow in it. This, as you can see by the pictures that I sent you, is asphalt that's broken up, that when it gets the freezing and the thawing, it just continues to get worse. We are only doing 600 feet of
That's not
metal.
on this one.
No, okay, I'm
These are
sorry.
just patches up
Yeah,
there, Jim.
Robin Lane is just gonna be patches, but the truck traffic, and I had a conversation with Atlas. I brought in my own independent consulting engineer that builds roads, that is an expert in this area, and we had a detailed conversation about it. I trust his judgment. This has been deteriorating for years. In fact, when I was out there taking pictures, the mail lady said, I'm glad somebody's finally addressing this because it's in bad shape.
One of the problems we have, and it's not unique, you know, we have it all over the city, right, in different places. One of the things that I observed while I was out there is the fact, and we've got to get better with this, you know, as far as maintaining what I would call assets of the city, but we haven't touched any of this. I think it's actually close to 450 or 460 feet on the next one. The one on Robin Lane are just patches to address some areas that are pretty significantly, you have base failure. And you can see that easily. There was no modification. A lot of times you see chemical additives added into the base prior to paving over the top of that. There doesn't appear to be that. There's maybe a couple of inches of asphalt on it. Obviously a trash truck, I mean, destroys these more than anything else that we see. To Jim's point, I mean, I don't even know that we're 18 foot in some of those areas. Unfortunately, we inherited this. We absorbed it at some point. I don't know when, but we're gonna have to deal with some of it because these are public roads. They're not in a private development, but it's not unique. We do have other areas. They're there, and I would agree with what Jim had to say in regards to that.
There are other areas that are in bad shape, and I know Debbie's talked to me about a couple of streets down by her, but not to this extent. This is an extreme bad shape. And I guess my point was Atlas is already mobilized out here. They can start work on this. They told me they were gonna start tomorrow, depending on what we decided tonight. I told them I put it on the agenda. Keep your equipment here in town. We wanna get this work done, you know, as soon as possible.
And I will tell you too, for the most part, this is going to, I mean, for lack of a better word, you're not gonna go to the degree, the way that they've got both of these priced, you're not going to the degree that we did Starlight or Will Rogers. It's going to buy you some
These are
time.
patches.
Yeah. Well, they're gonna tear that out, and they're gonna do
But if you
about-
don't have aggregate underneath it and everything, are you?
We
gonna
are.
put-
They
They
are
are
putting
gonna
in,
put that
oh
aggregate and
yeah,
everything
oh
on
yeah.
it.
But
yeah.
it's not real significant.
So
I
that,
mean,
this
it's-
area might be good for the next 20 years, but there's gonna
Maybe.
be other areas.
That's
that
right.
is just
That's right.
continued.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just saw
But
Commissioner.
how much do you wanna spend?
Yeah,
You know?
I just saw the unit price was very reasonable. It was competitively priced when we awarded the contract. There were 4 bidders, and I said, gosh, while they're in town, this was brought to my attention by one of the neighbors down there, and I said, let's see what we can do to get this resolved.
So they're gonna do this before they finish the other project, right?
So Jim, and I know the $11,000
Starlight's not
is
even done yet.
underneath,
That's right.
but the 40,000, is that, when does the competitive bid statutes come into play? Is it 100?
Well, it's 100, but it's a change order on the old
Yes, it's
contract.
a
if I
change order
remember
on the
right.
old contract.
These are
Because-
existing items of work for the most part, so
Right,
that doesn't,
So it's
Okay.
getting
Yeah.
folded under there, and
Okay.
we can do that because we required the unit bid.
Yeah.
Unit bid
And it's
price.
just one street over from
Yeah.
Starlight. In my opinion, we weren't going clear across town. I wasn't having to do Oklahoma Park.
in order to save some dollars on
Want
this
to.
though, we had visited with these guys and we, on the patches, definitely some ag base, but one of the things on the next item, which I'm getting off, but we're talking about reincorporating the existing asphalt into the current base so that we can use that as an aggregate supplement rather than having to cut all of that out, place new ag base. We do it quite a little bit for these types of things. It'll work fine. And you already have aggregate and oil in that, so you'll incorporate that and mix it like with a big roto mixer. Bomag's what they call it,
Bomag,
right?
yeah,
So,
that's correct.
anyway, so that's kind of the idea on the next one.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve Atlas paving for Robin Lane change order of
Second.
$11,604.76.
Second the motion?
You was trying to cut me off. I was gonna get that last 10
I know,
cents.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you only got 40 cents there.
Right.
You got yours. I'm just kidding. Anxiously awaiting.
He's still gotta pay his dad for the last couple meetings, so he's in a hole.
So Don made the motion, who made the second?
I did.
Commissioner Franklin. Yeah, he is. He's trying to get all his hours in right here on this meeting.
End of the year.
Yeah.
He's trying to pay for that hat.
You got a new one, man, because the last one was brown. He's got a
I've been at this table
You got-
way more hours than you guys.
Let's back in your
move on.
private. That's because of the court.
Yeah, well.
Nothing to do with the commission.
Moving on.
You wanna get rid of your pictures there? Did we pass?
Oh, yeah, sorry. I forget I have to do that for you guys. Okay, there you go. Yes, you passed.
Okay, that motion's carried. Item E is discussion possible action to approve the proposal for Atlas paving to repair Meadow Lane at the cost of $40,600. I don't, brutalize that, but,
$87.20.
$657.20,
The
yeah,
decimals
yeah,
throwing you off.
yeah, it is.
Just to, just,
Just make
just to
sure
be
we make that
clear,
correction.
just to be clear,
$40 million.
it's $40,000, $40,657.20.
It's in the motion, right?
Okay, I make a motion to approve item E.
I'll second.
At that 40,000.
At the
It's right in the motion, sorry
$40,657.20.
guys. I don't know where my period is in there.
My God.
No, it's not right in the motion. Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is, okay.
Oh, yeah, we
The
got
motion is
Yeah, I
right.
got you.
I guess, I don't know what happened there. Can't say what happened, sorry.
That motion carries unanimously as well. The next item is item F, and that's the financial report by the city treasurer. Anita.
These didn't look too booky, did they? Keep
No.
in mind, this has 3 payrolls on it, when, that's our biggest expense, of course, because we're people run business.
Thank y'all.
And on the city side, it's always your 522 ambulance that comes in quarterly chunks, and we didn't get any quarterly chunk this month. And we do have an outstanding grant for like $196,000 for the water line we moved out east that we're still waiting on.
On 33.
Yeah.
Third
Goes off.
Okay.
Only abnormal stuff on here, we had some expenses at the park. Was it the park? No, it's the police department that, we did already write the check on the incinerator. The ADA entry on the door, so that's around 23,000. We had some
ADA entry out at the pool.
No, at the police station.
Police
Oh, at the
station.
police station. I get it.
They redid their front, I don't know if we've been out there.
Yeah.
We had the purchases you approved last month for the grant for the fire department, which was around 20,000. We had some fees from CEC, which is the architect on the OTAP,
ODOT tap.
ODOT tap, or whatever.
For the sidewalks.
Tap,
The sidewalk thing. And that was around 29,000. And so that was kind of the oddball stuff. We are, for the month, it was 197,000 in the negative, but for the year, it's only at a minus $79,000, which is really pretty close to what our year budget is actually at a loss, because we approved those budget amendments a couple of months ago that were some expenses that we're going to carry over this year.
Before moving on to the next page, the park department looks like they're getting heavy on their 61% of the year already.
Yeah, that is, I made notes in case you asked. We did the Shaw Park improvements. A lot of the costs for the Shaw Park improvements have fallen on this year.
Are they gonna be able to stay within budget?
Those were really approved to be done in last year's budget, and they're carried over.
Yeah.
Um,
We didn't get the invoice until this fiscal year, so
Yeah.
yeah, they'll stay within budget,
Because they
Commissioner.
put some new sidewalks out there, they made some improvements to the pickleball courts and some lighting,
Yeah.
and that just added up, and there'll be some budget amendments come along that'll encompass those. We did get our sales tax.
Hold on, Anita, real quick.
Okay.
Just to notice the editing error here. On the second page, the Kingfisher Public Works Authority, it says October of '24 on the actual, and not November of '24.
I missed that, just
Okay.
pencil that in.
Okay, no, I just want to make sure that, but by looking at those numbers, are those numbers November '24 or
They
are those
are,
numbers
'cause the 40
October?
The 42% means I hit that page.
Okay.
There's two places of the month, and I missed that one.
That's fine. I just want to make sure that the
It was
numbers that were
after-
in that column are
Yeah.
actual November, but just mislabeled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Last week was Hell Week here. We had 2 payrolls and closing out the month, and I worked past closing time, getting that done. But we did get our sales tax in. I don't know if you saw your pages on there. It has gone up. It's not the highest line on there, but it did beat last year.
So we already have December sales tax?
Yes, we get that around the 7th, 8th. And so as soon as I get it, I put the stuff together to report on it.
That's for October though.
Yeah,
It's
it's 2 months,
spending in
60 days,
October.
60 days behind.
Yeah,
But it hits our bucks in December versus December.
so actually the sales tax looked nice. I was happy with it. The use tax is down because it was a little bit of an anomaly last month to get that big use tax check. It was $170,000. But then, was there any questions on the sales tax?
The only thing
I
I'll
can't
say
really
about the sales tax, we're off about $60,000 from what we projected. We're through 5 months, but we're still, they're only showing us October's sales. So
Yeah.
I would say by February, Commissioner, I would be more nervous once we get to February what the sales tax projections are.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. I think there's still need to kind of see, but we're $60,000 behind 5 months into the fiscal year in a declining revenue stream. So
Yeah.
it's not like we're $60,000 down and things are getting better. Things are not getting better. We've had obviously 1 month here that shows that it was better based off of one or two things that came in.
Yeah.
But overall, we're still in a declining revenue
Yeah.
scenario here, and we're still again only 5 months into this. So
Yeah.
that has me really concerned with a budget that is pretty much in line with what last year's fiscal year budget was, but yet we're in a declining revenue situation here already. So and I know you have that on your radar and everything, but I think whenever we're making financial decisions on things moving forward, we've got to start being a little bit more tighter with our money until we understand exactly if this is going to continue to be a declining revenue situation, or based off of the holidays and the new year and the
Yeah.
you know, people come and getting their taxes and spending their taxes and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Are we gonna be able to make up for that? Because as of right now, we're gonna be well below the revenue, the projected revenue, if
Yeah.
it continues to decline like it is.
Yeah. And I appreciate Commissioner Whitrock, you know, highlighting the parks, but everybody else is below that 42% as far as either at 42% or below what they're spending in their budget. So we're watching it. We have a staff meeting. We had a staff meeting this morning. I talked to several of them about their individual budgets. We talked about the sales tax isn't coming in what we thought it would, and we even lowered our projection from what we had last year. I mean, last year we collected over 3 million, and this year we figured 2.9. So we were conservative in our estimates, hoping that we're gonna get to the 3 million or above, you know, as the economy turns around, and that the new president brings in the drill baby drill, and people are a little more optimistic about the future. But I appreciate, just know that Anita and I are tracking our finances very closely, and the spending.
Yeah, the one thing I'd say is your overall, your revenues are, equal to what your expenditures are right now, 40% overall. Right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you're under your revenues, but you're also under your expenditures. We
Yeah.
just need to keep an eye on that. As to Commissioner Mecklenburg's point, I think you got a little out of whack with your 10% and 7% last month, but we expect you'll get better.
Yeah.
Well, we'll have 3 payrolls kind of again in December, so just
So it'll be again, yeah.
Just give you a
Wait for
forward
February.
warning.
Yeah, that's why I said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Public Works, which this is that time of year where, or last month was, your heat and air, neither one really were running much. So that's why the, like electric is at 6%. It's just that bell curve that we have on utility sales. We can't up their bills just because they're not using as much. The anomalies that they had is basically, we had some water nodes and electric meters come in that were approved for the new Nighthawk stuff. And that was around 80,000. And then there was a few more of the rebuilding the motors for the water department.
For the plant that flooded, yeah.
Yeah, so a little bit more. So we did have a loss last month of 26,000, but for the year, we have a gain of $483,000. So if you look at the cash page,
What did you project with the electric and water? What did we project that we would, with that increase? What was our projection that we would?
what the dollar per amount?
Yeah, you're at $500,000.
Yeah, I don't remember. I think it was around a half between
I
all
thought
of
it
the
was more.
entities.
Through the year. Throughout the entire year, I thought we took.
We estimated about $500,000 in water and $500,000
So about
in
$1 million.
electric. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
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 And you're tracking pretty close to that
Yeah.
at this point.
yeah.
Although we've had a mild,
Mild winter so far.
Paul,
yeah,
yeah.
but
Paul.
summer hung on with us for a while.
it did, absolutely, absolutely.
But Anita's right. There were portions where we didn't use our air conditioner and we didn't use our heater. We're using our heaters now.
Yeah. So the total electric people, go you.
Overall, we're cautiously optimistic about our future as far as revenues and expenses. If things turn bleak, we will make the necessary adjustments to reduce spending. Haven't turned in close the fiscal year out in the red yet, and I don't intend to make this my first, so. But I appreciate your oversight and comments.
Is that your city manager's report?
No, she's still got the third, we're still looking at cash, right?
Yep, so looking at cash, basically our unencumbered cash right now is sitting almost exactly on $10 million. We've been, using down the street and alley fund to build the Will Rogers and Starlight little
Our
improvements out there.
contribution part of that, yeah.
I think we're down to I've got like, where's it at there?
300,
Yeah,
370.
about 200,000 left to pay them, and then that'll leave us a residual of 100,000. On your motion that you just made on the change orders, did you want those to come out of street department or street and alley fund?
There's only 102 left in there.
Yeah,
How about the Overstreet Memorial Fund?
well, that's not really a roads thing. That's more parks and,
Yeah,
which we have a little bit in there, or we can run it. I mean, if you run it through street, it's gonna extend your loss for the year.
So let me ask you this, just out of, I'm curious. So the Will Rogers and Starlight, that was an 80-20 match.
That was an 80-20 match, so when the advance money came in, we put it in the street and alley fund
Right.
account.
So our total contribution to that was about a $1.1 million. We added a little bit here, but,
I think we got a total of 775,000
yeah.
so.
plus interest.
But what the mayor's getting at is, what is our contribution? It's about 300,000.
It's more
Yeah.
than that.
Well, it's a little
Little
bit.
over 300.
Well, 775 and, what was the total bid?
It was a
1.1
1.1,
something.
yeah.
Yeah, so it's around 300.
Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty good deal for what we're getting.
Oh, no question, it's a good deal. I didn't know if it was a 75-25 or 80-20.
It was an 80-20.
It was an 80-20.
It was.
Not to exceed 775,000, I'm thinking.
Yeah.
That's why they gave us the money in advance.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've been making 5% on that money. Yeah.
So the $530,000 encumbrance for the fire heart, is that architect?
That's architect. Remember, that was around 600 and some, 662 or 652,000?
Okay.
The
You've already
bills-
encumbered the.
Yes, we
So does
encumbered
is
that.
that full encumbrance?
That's a full encumbrance. What we've paid so far has really been pretty small
Yeah.
in comparison to the total amount.
Right.
Yeah.
Then the 350,000 encumbrance on the general fund.
That's an accumulation of every department head's outstanding purchase orders. And some of them are annual, like insurance,
Okay.
and things like that, that we pay quarterly. We went ahead and put the full invoice in when we
Good.
get it.
Okay.
She didn't get her question answered.
I know, so should.
Take it out of street and alley, take it out of
I
street
was
and
gonna
alley.
say,
Okay.
because that's where the other money
Yeah.
went back into.
Yeah. If everybody's comfortable with that.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Which holds, yeah.
Okay.
Any
other
questions for
questions?
Nita other than what's been asked? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you, Nita.
Next item on the agenda, 30 seconds.
And I won't take up a lot of
No,
time,
I'm
because,
kidding, I'm
I
kidding.
know, I've talked a lot, and I sent you out a lot of information over the weekend. I guess the only thing I will share with you, about a month ago, I put out a request for proposals for engineering services. We received 14 different engineering firms that were interested in coming to work here. Mayor Cobalt and I sat down and talked about all 14, and we're going to be interviewing 5 of them on Friday. He and I are going to look at trying to find engineering firms that specialize in specific areas. Engineering is a complicated field. It's like the law. Not one engineer, civil engineers specialize in fields. And so we're looking for somebody that can help us out with our water, with our stormwater, with our sewer, electric, with roads. And so we may be coming back to you in January after we have these interviews with these clients. We're interviewing 5 on Friday morning, and say, hey, here are 3 that we would like to have on retainer, and here's a proposal, for services. Cowan has been put on a notice that we are considering other options. They are not one of the 5 that we're going to be interviewing on Friday. I've told the others that if something changes, we'll notify you where your standing is once we make a decision. But we will be coming to you in January with some recommendations for engineering services.
What's our outs contractually with
30
Cowan?
days.
Cowan's 30 days?
30 days.
Okay, with no penalties after
No.
30 days? Okay, perfect.
No. But they've been put on notice. Well,
They're-
before I put the proposal out there, I specifically called
Yeah, sure.
and talked with
Well,
them.
and they could have submitted, they did not submit.
Yeah.
Kind of a weird deal, but I don't think we've really had anything since 2018 with them
That's correct.
specifically as far as a contract. So
Okay.
it's been an hourly, right?
Yeah.
So, are these all people that are in the state, out of the state?
All in state, all
Well,
in state.
They're,
They may have other offices in other
they're not
states.
headquarters, yeah, but they
Yeah,
do
okay,
have
yeah,
offices
yeah,
here.
no.
Yeah.
So what are you, just curious, like, what are your requirements gonna be of them? Like, how often would they be available, or? are you
Well, the same
like-
ones we have with Cowan. The instruction I gave them when I talked with them on the phone, I said, you've been selected, but I need you to come with your A game and tell me and the mayor what skills you have and what is your expertise. I was looking for the word expertise in this particular field. And we've allotted a half an hour. I said you could bring a PowerPoint. We're gonna be meeting at the chamber office up there where we can have some privacy. And like I said, it may be one, it may be two, it may be three engineering firms, but we need somebody to deal with water. We need to get a SCADA system. I will tell you, two of these engineering firms specifically called me last week and requested a tour of our facilities. And so Jeremiah took them around, showed them our water, our sewer, and then Mark took them around and showed them our electric system. And Jeremiah was impressed with one of the firms, and just said one really had an interest in helping us, and he shared with them some of the struggles he's having. We don't have a SCADA system. We don't know when our towers are empty. It's old fashioned. So we're looking at taking Kingfisher to the next level. We're gonna up our game, and we need engineers that can help us meet that goal or meet that challenge. So, I don't know, Mayor, would you add anything to that, or?
Oh, there's a lot, if you have questions about it, I think, one of the things, and I've told Jim this since he's been around, is that there are engineers that specialize in treatment processes, water and wastewater treatment processes. There are engineers that specialize in water modeling or sewer modeling.
Yeah.
Or whatever the case may be, and we just don't know what we don't know at this point. We don't have those systems in place. Obviously there are also, we've talked about infrastructure in general, and we've taken one step with the GIS, but we need to find those folks that will allow us to plan for the future, to take care of the systems that we have in place and update those, maintain them, to ensure that 20, 30 years down the road, we've set the path to improve things here. And that's really what we're interested in. And unfortunately, I think what we've received to date, and I think he himself, the owner of the previous engineering firm, basically said, hey, we're short order cooks, and we don't need short order cooks. We need a well-planned chef.
Yeah.
So,
Good luck on your venture.
And you've heard me say this, Rome wasn't built in a day. We're not expecting to spend a whole lot of money, next year, but we need the people in place to help us educate and help educate you as to what needs to be addressed and prioritize as we get ready to put our next budget together in March and April.
one of the things I'd also say, because we breached this subject tonight, we need to ensure that our codes, our standards, and what our expectations within the city are updated and in writing. And we have some of that. We don't have a lot of it.
Yeah.
So those are some other things. Any other questions for the city manager?
That's all I have, Mayor.
Thanks,
I have a
sir.
question.
Oh, go ahead, Don.
Well, I have a request.
A request.
I don't know why you're looking like that. Is it possible, after hearing about how we do, our pet services or whatever you want to call it,
Yeah.
is it possible to take a little deeper look in the records that they do keep of how they're
Yeah.
handling things?
Yeah, yeah,
Because some of the things that were said,
yeah.
I just question.
I think we try to be as humane as possible, if that's what you're looking at, but I can get some of the statistics. I mean, we have to account for that.
Right, like, I just don't, I have a feeling that similar
Take
to
Kyle, take them all.
Oh,
My wife
His
would.
wife will.
maybe the things that they feel like have been done are not actually how.
okay,
And I know, I mean, yeah.
okay. Let me look into that, and I'll get back to you guys on one of my hot topics,
Okay.
so that we don't have to say it in public.
Yeah.
Okay, very good. No new item of business, so do we have a motion for adjournment?
Hold on, real
Oh,
quick.
okay.
Hey, you're doing a lot of assuming tonight.
Trying to move
I know
along.
you're trying to get out of here.
I promise.
but still.
I think you
promised
might be
6
hungry
o'clock.
with that analogy about the
So,
chefs and
yeah.
stuff. I was like, okay.
No, one of
Yes,
the things I wanted to say is and I wasn't here last meeting, but there was an item on the agenda about the special use permit for the buildings, and it's, you know, something that we've,
Nope, if you're not here, you can't bring it up.
so that we have, you know, we've discussed, and I'm not gonna say anything about the specifics of that case, but my
Yeah.
concern is, and I talked to Jim about this, my concern is that we have made discussions or had discussions, maybe not since Commissioner Whitrock's been on the board, but I would like for us to visit the idea of, we either need to change the ordinance and just say people can build what they want to build, or we need to, you know, have the discussion of when are we going to approve these things, and what are the reasons why? Because if they're on the books where this is the way it's supposed to be, and people come to us and they say, well, we just don't want to do that because it's going to cost us a little bit of extra money. That's not an excuse. That's not.
No.
But,
You're talking about on the metal buildings.
but as far as the metal
Yeah,
buildings
yeah.
and the facade and the exterior of the building, so my request would be that, I don't know how this works, that we put on the agenda or do something to where we discuss as a commission, are we going to instruct the P&Z committee that, you know, moving forward, if there's not a very specific and outstanding reason as to why they can't follow the ordinance. And Commissioner Whitrock said this in the meeting, because I watched it because of All About Kingfisher, so thank you for that. I was able to see the meeting and everything. But I'm in line with him and saying it's on the books, we go by it unless there's a very specific reasons why not. And if we choose that the policies and procedures are not what we want, then we change it, and so we quit burdening the citizens of having to fill out the form, come in here, get that special request, if we're just gonna say yes on it.
Well, on that one, let's go back to it real fast, was she thought it was all only for commercial use. She didn't realize it was also that ordinance.
Yeah, and I
was
agree,
for that.
and that's why.
And I say that because she didn't realize it late, and I totally get what you say
Yeah.
with the P and Z and all that,
Yeah.
I do. Here's what I think, and this is me sitting in all the meetings, is everybody needs the same protocol.
That's right.
So if you're gonna, and I suggest this to you all, as you all sit down with P and Z together as a committee and them as a committee, and you come up with it.
And
So
we've
that
talked,
way we know
we've
about
talked
it. We
with them
talked about
about
that.
it.
Yeah.
We've actually met with them. We need to do that
Yes,
again.
I say that.
I think the idea in regards to that specifically, I think we need to look at the areas that apply. We can't just take a carte blanche approach to say this applies in the city of Kingfisher, because you already have precedent set in some of these areas. And so I think we do need to come together and have that
But you
discussion.
gotta be careful then, because then you're
I agree, I hear you.
you're putting restrictions on some people in some areas and not others.
No question.
I think you do have to have a blanket. It's either you do it or you don't.
Well, I mean, it's like zoning, right? You allow certain things in certain zoning areas, and then you adjust based upon what the uses and the intents of those are. I think that's what we need
Yeah,
to discuss.
I can see that. But
Yeah.
again, I
Yeah, I
don't
hear you.
want the argument tonight or anything, but I do want to bring it up to it, because I think it's something that we need to proactively
I agree.
look at. And
It's come
make
up 3 or
decisions.
4 times since I've been on.
Exactly.
I just
And
think if you do it include them with you.
Right.
and put it up
Absolutely,
there.
we have to have a
Because
P&Z.
they
because-
don't know, and then we tell them.
Mm-hmm.
In my opinion, just going to all the meetings, I think it's fair enough that you all meet together.
It's
Absolutely.
not a
Because-
well-defined ordinance. That's
Right,
part of the
and
problem.
That's right,
they really did not want to approve it. They struggled with it
Right.
heavily.
We overturned one of their decisions,
Right,
and that was.
so
it.
that's why
Yeah.
I think you need to meet with
Yeah.
them as a group.
Totally,
to discuss
100%,
that.
100% agree.
I'm still looking for an adjournment.
So, hold on.
Oh.
So Jared, if we bring the P and Z and the commission, are we talking about a workshop? I mean, I don't think we should be discussing it in a regular commission meeting.
We did a workshop before and it all
Is that what
came
we
up.
did?
We
You
did a
did?
joint workshop
Yeah.
with them.
Okay.
We've done it before, I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
Okay.
how
It's a
it's
joint
structured.
workshop and they just
Yeah,
come together.
it wasn't at a commission.
No, no,
Okay.
it was a joint workshop.
But we've
put together.
struggled to
We'll
get
look
a
in
quorum
January.
on the planning and zoning committee, I've heard. Is that not true? Okay, we've had a quorum at every.
We've had a quorum at every one of them.
Okay,
Now, has there been a hit and miss? Yes, there has.
Okay.
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 So
Okay.
on that topic is also lot coverage percentage needs to be mentioned in there.
Yeah.
So,
So one of the things I would encourage too, I mean, send that, any of this stuff that we need to discuss, it'd be good just for Jim to put that on the agenda so that we don't miss anything. Let's hit it all in one shot. So thank you.
And that would be, and I think it would be great for all of y'all.
Absolutely.
because that last time we did it, they loved it. So they knew exactly where you all stood and helped them. So
Okay.
I really think it would be good.
But,
Plan something
but
in
that
January.
has changed, because I think
Look at
Cal and I
that.
are the only ones that are still
Yeah.
on here since we've had it.
Yes,
I don't
and
think
it,
you
and
were
it
there,
has.
Mr. Taylor.
And we also need to pick another person for planning and zoning. We're down one person. And I think you have two that want to leave. So that's another reason I think you
To go
need to
ahead and
meet
meet
with
as
them
well.
as a committee
Yeah.
so that you understand.
Is that a 3-year commitment?
It's a 3-year commitment, yes.
And two of them want to step down?
Yes, they do, but they haven't said when, but I know they want to step down, so just know you need to replace one,
Yeah.
and then you have two that are really wanting to step down. So I feel like if you do meet
It's
it with
time
them
to
as a
meet.
committee,
It's time to meet, talk
it's
about
time
all
to
that.
meet and
Yep.
look. So
Okay.
yes, definitely.
Thank you guys for those comments.
motion for adjournment,
Second?
Have a motion and a second.
ready to go.
We got more meetings.
I know,
right?
you were primed to do that.
Just trying to get through one.
Who's second?
much to
Who's
say
second?
on that.
Okay.
Commissioner
that's true.
Mecklenburg.
Sorry, I did not hear it.
You didn't put an A on that, did you?
Yeah, I did this time.
All right, we are adjourned. We'll reconvene as Kingfisher Public Works Authority. We ran everybody off but Maitland and Barry. First item on the agenda is the consent docket. Do we have any questions, concerns? If not, do we have a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the consent docket.
Second.
The computer working fast on that one.
She's hungry.
That motion carries unanimously. The next item on the agenda is the discussion and possible action to set regular meeting dates for 2025. Same as before. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to accept the dates for the meetings for year 2025.
Second?
It passed, I don't know. why
Okay,
it's not
motion
coming.
carries. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion to adjourn.
I second it.
Thank you, ma'am.
Where are we pausing?
We are adjourned. We'll reconvene as the Kingfisher Recreational Authority. First item on the agenda is the consent docket. Any questions, concerns? If not, do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we approve the consent docket.
Have a motion by Commissioner Taylor,
Oh, second.
second by Commissioner Mecklenburg. CT, CM, and CW. No, I'll say. That motion carries. Next item is a discussion, possible action to set regular meeting dates for 2025. Could we get a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the dates for 2025.
Done this twice before. Thank you,
Second.
Commissioner Taylor.
Groundhog
Thank you,
Day.
Commissioner Mecklenburg.
It's a sense of deja vu. It's only 7 o'clock, Jim.
I know. Been a long day.
Yeah.
Still recovering from
Motion
the
carries. Do we have a motion for
Yeah.
adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Second.
Motion carries. We'll reconvene as the special projects. Somehow I got logged out.
There it is.
There we go. Consent docket, we have no consent docket.
Just have minutes, meeting minutes.
Make a
Okay.
motion to approve consent docket.
Okay. Have a
Second.
motion. Have a
Second.
second by Commissioner Whitrock.
Nobody wanted to stay for all this. It's fun.
The next item on the agenda is our fourth time at this, discussion
Oh, gosh.
possible.
So you don't have all your votes in.
You know,
Oh, no.
it's not passed yet.
I'm
I'm
moving
like,
that. I knew it. Unanimous.
You had a
The
feeling.
next item on the agenda is discussion possible action to set regular meeting dates for 2025. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the dates for 2025.
She really likes those dates.
Mm-hmm.
Second.
They're good dates.
Okay. So with that, do we have a motion for adjournment?
Motion for adjournment.
Second that.
Thank you.
Is it safe to turn my computer off?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Well, yep. We are adjourned.